Hi, everyone. We have one of my mentors for the past 25 years on here today. So I'm so excited, and we're going to be able to ask her questions. And I see there's some other people on the line, and you guys can put questions in the chat. But Amy has been with us, well, longer than 25 years with the Juice Plus company. Let's hear just a little bit. 28 years. Okay, let's just hear a little bit. I'm not going to want your full story because we're going to ask you some deep questions. Okay, let's just hear the two questions I like to ask new people, and that's their story. What attracted you to Juice Plus, and what attracted you to the Juice Plus business that made you want to step outside yourself to share? So let's start with that. Okay, Amy?
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for the opportunity to be on here. I love you guys. You and Doug and this whole team. I see Karen and Gwen and Kathy. So awesome. What attracted me to Juice Plus was the simplicity of it. Garden fresh produce made sense to me. And we had an old VHS tape called Nature's Energy, and it showed crops growing out of the ground and then somehow putting it into a capsule. And I didn't know how they did it, but it made sense that we needed to eat more fruits and vegetables. So number one, the sense of it all. And number two, I had some really picky eaters in my house, and I thought, okay, this is the easy button. Okay, I can get them to do this. And so that was the beginning of saying, this makes sense. And then I went to my first event and I started to learn more, and I became hungry, that sponge. I had just turned 40. So it's at a stage of my life where I wanted more energy. You can get by with some nutritional shortcomings in your 20s and 30s, but you hit 40 and things start to catch up with you. So I was looking for more energy and didn't realize all the other areas of my life would improve when I said yes to Juice Plus. So it was the beginning of it makes sense. I wanted more for my health, and it made sense for my whole family. So I said yes for everybody. I didn't ask Scott permission. I just ordered it all.
Yes, and you're going to be forever thankful, right?
Very thankful. And the second question about why did I say yes to this business? I heard someone say one time people join out of inspiration or desperation. And at that time, I was joining almost out of desperation. I'm in it now for inspiration because I love what we do. But back then it was desperation. I was in my 40s. We owned our own business at a large mall in South Florida. I very much wanted to go back to being a stay-at-home mom. I loved the role of being a stay-at-home mom, but life circumstances had put me in a place where I was now working full-time. And sometimes that meant 40 hours a week, and sometimes that was 70 hours a week during the holidays. And I desperately wanted to come back home and have more control over my time. And I love being a mom. And so when I saw this business, the product made sense. And I thought, I went to my first conference. I signed up to get a better price, number one. Of course, you want to get a bit of a discount. But then I went to my first conference and I got vision, and I saw, okay, I can get my products paid for. I can do that. Check. I want to make $1,000 a month. Check. Okay, what's next? And then by then I was grabbing hold of the vision that if they can do it, I can do it. I went to a business training in our local area, and someone got up and talked and, did a training on stuff. And they were a terrible presenter. I remember. And I thought,
I do.
if we can do this, I can do this. So that gave me hope. So there's no lost cause there. But I realized that it's just talking to people, offering this gift in changing their life with a life-giving health product that nobody gets enough fruits and vegetables. And here's a really simple way to bridge the gap.
Let me let me keep you back during that time, because we know you've progressed and she's 100 club over and over, you know.
But you remember when I was a sales
I
coordinator.
remember her when she's a sales coordinator. So that is pretty significant. I didn't realize you were 40. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I had no idea. Anyway, but yeah, it's neat. And I'm wondering, were you ever scared to do the business? Because it didn't seem like, I mean, how would I know? But you also took it very seriously. You had Julie, you had Janelle. I don't know who else you had. You had me and Abby. And I remember you holding like your own little kitchen table event. And I remember you saying, don't chase after the birds. Like you already were doing personal growth. That was like a Jim Rohn thing. Don't chase after the birds. They're already flying away. Why are you chasing after the birds? I was brand new sitting at the table at Julie's house. I remember that. So you already were delving into personal growth, but from what I understand, you did not have your own sponsor there. You didn't really have a leader till eventually Wendy Campbell reached out. Maybe, well, you had your aunt, but she was in Iowa. So anyway, tell us about that and how you kind of managed to really grasp, and who got you to conference. I have no idea, you know, because you were early in the business, you know, how did you end up grasping onto all that and knowing that this is how you wanted to dedicate your time and become professional and do all that personal growth and everything?
Oh, good question, Sharon. So when I got started, my aunt had started, I'm, I saw my aunt at a family reunion in South Dakota. This is the only family reunion that we ever went to because we lived in South Florida and their family reunions were in South Dakota or Chicago. And we couldn't afford to fly our whole family up there. But when they were going to have this one in the hometown where my grandma had lived and all my childhood memories of visiting my grandparents, we said, we're going to go. So my sisters and I and our kids rented a 11 passenger van and flew to the closest city and then drove 4 more hours to this small remote farming village in South Dakota. So we get there, we learn about Juice Plus from Jeannie and Lee, my aunt and uncle, and they were just 2 months ahead of us. So they didn't know a whole lot more than what I learned pretty quickly. And so the power of a three-way call. Jeannie did a three-way call with Wendy Campbell to welcome me to the team. And that opened the door and the communication with Wendy and me. And Wendy said, get on voice comm. And so I did. And it was $20 a month to get on voice comm. So you've got a little bit of skin in the game. So I listened to that. And that connected me to education and passion, which really makes a huge difference. So what was the rest of your question? It was really
Well,
good.
just how did you know? I mean, you were working so much. How did you know that, oh, this is going to work? I'm going to put my effort in this, and I'm also going to do personal growth. So you have 3 children who were
Yes.
young at the time. You're working this business, you know,
Um,
full time at the mall. And then
right.
you're saying, well, I'm going to start working on this on the side. How did you even know, you know, to do personal training and that was actually going to work?
Good question. I know, I think before Juice Plus, I went to a women's retreat and I heard a very well-respected mentor from South Florida from our the Sheridan House Ministries. And she said one of her favorite books was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I thought, huh, that sounds interesting. So I got the book and I read it and I just absorbed that. My sister at the same time was trying to recruit me into another network marketing company, Anita. And she said, here, read Og Mandino's book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. So I read it and I loved it. That was before Juice Plus. So enter Juice Plus. I had already begun to understand the importance of our mindset and the impact of our thoughts on our daily habits and activities and how we interact with everybody, not just in business, but with our kids and family and all the things. So I was already gravitating to that. And then when I got started in this business and came to my first conference, you're surrounded with people that are committed to personal growth. And that, even though you don't always realize it, that starts to infect you too. And you want what they have. And I got to hear Jeff Roberti early on in the business because we were in South Florida and he lives in Florida, and he would come down to events in our local area that other marketing directors were sponsoring, and I would go to that and I would hear him and be inspired by that. So I was putting myself in proximity with other people that are better than me, and I got to, every event you go to may not change your life, but every event you go to, you're going to pick out one thing that will stick with you. And if you don't, you can be the person that provides that inspiration to another person. But I got the vision and the inspiration from going to a conference. And I didn't have a particular timeline that I want to do it in 5 years. I want to do it in 2 years. I wasn't so locked on to a timeline. I just knew I wanted to go all the way because I wanted the freedom and flexibility of a paycheck. And I also wanted to not be handcuffed to the mall for the rest of my life and working in retail forever.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I liked the idea of not going to a building every day and clocking in and clocking out. And so I was with you on there. Okay, Doug's got some good questions for you.
I'm just laughing. I mean, sometimes the things we say, like especially those of us that have been doing this for a long time, it almost sounds a little ridiculous. Like, I like the idea of not going to a regular job every day and clocking in and clocking out. It's like, well, who would not agree with that statement, Sharon?
But I had just got, the degree to do that. That
I
was
know.
what I had just finished my degree.
And you had to figure out how to have that conversation
crazy.
with your husband.
Like,
that you don't want to use it.
I know that. I mean, you don't know, Amy, what I had to go through. We were on a bike ride, and I'll never forget it. We were in Plantation, remember, going through those corporate buildings, Dougie?
I don't remember this at all. I'm afraid right now,
He
actually.
was not open to me staying home and doing the Juice Plus business. He was
I
like,
didn't know anything about it. I thought you were
Yeah.
crazy.
like, yeah, I don't think so. You just got that second degree, you got the student loans. I don't think so. Like, you know how that goes. Anyway.
Well, some husbands, we have to prove to them that we can do this and that we can create real income from this,
Yeah.
or they'll come on board, And though, credit to Scott, when I got started in this, the first conference I wanted to go to, I started in the summer. I wanted to go to the October conference, and he had a hunting trip planned. And he said, no, you can't go, because he was going to be gone. And I said, okay. So, I didn't know what I didn't know. So then the spring conference rolls around, and I said I wanted to go. And Wendy Campbell suggested that Scott come with me. And so we both decided to fly from Miami to St. Louis. And I happen to remember that our plane tickets were $700, $350 each, 27 years ago.
Wow.
So that was a lot of money to spend. And we went to that conference, and they introduced the cassette tape, which we didn't have the cassette tapes before that. We were had to be the mouthpiece.
Oh, that would be hard.
So the cassette tapes, and they were $1 a piece, and you could buy them in a bag of 20. And I was going to go buy 20 of them. And Scott said, you need to buy 100 of them. And I was like, what? 100? He had way bigger vision for me at the beginning than I had for myself. His dad had been in insurance, and he knew that when you build a client base that you can get paid on for the rest of your life, that
Mm.
creates residual income, recurring income. And so he was the wind beneath my wings. And although he didn't come to another conference until I made an NMD, he was always the one that stayed home with the kids and manned the house so that I could go. And you
Mhm.
know, there was a lot of challenges between that time and 5 years later when I made NMD. But you know, it was you just figure it out. But I latched on to the vision and the possibilities, and I just believed. I mean, I was surrounded by some good people, so if they could do it, I could do it. And
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 he had Scott encouraging you. And one time he said, you need to go to conference because you
yes,
were wishy-washy. So
I
having
got,
that
yeah,
spouse,
the sales coordinator. I wasn't going to
yeah,
go to a conference and
yeah,
in the spring, and he said, go buy your ticket. You wanted to grow this, go. So, you know, sometimes the spouses are very encouraging, and sometimes we have to prove it to them before they come on board. And you know, and then I look at you guys and how Doug, you know, he's all in with you, and you guys are doing this together, and it's a team. So I love that. So
yeah.
everybody's home and relationships and business all looks different. There's no cookie cutters here. But you find what works for your own personality and your strengths, and then you build on that.
Well, I love when we have these conversations, especially with you here, because I sometimes, you know, I live with an NMD. So it's nice to live with your buddy in the business, but also, you know, I always like to say, I mean, her name's on the wall when you go to corporate. I mean, that my name's on there too, but not because of me, it's because of her. So I love when, well, I always say, I wish the team could just hear the conversations of NMDs, especially like us with our mentors and things like that, because NMDs, I mean, when's the last time when you're hanging out with NMDs, if you go to the Eltons or something, Amy, it's not like we're sitting around talking about, you know, like whether or not Susie is going to order the trio or the quad, and Susie had this objection and this and that. It's always, it almost feels like that some of that stuff is kind of like you're flying at a higher level when you're an NMD, but it's not because you're an NMD. I think the people that are not NMDs yet still fly at that same level. They just haven't made it there. It's almost like, so Susie might order, Susie might not order. No reason to talk about it. Let's talk about real stuff. Let's talk about how the mindset works of success. Let's talk about this Tony Robbins podcast we listen to, and let's talk about, you know, like it's just like a higher level thinking that I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg, but I think the higher level thinking has to come before you can really have success. So I'm going to call out people that are watching this replay, even though I don't even know who's watching it or what you're thinking. But I'm going to say this, that when Amy talks, so here's the thing, when Amy talks, I'm listening. And what I've noticed, a lot of team, when they hear either us speak or Amy speak or somebody like that speak, everybody has different takeaways from that conversation. But some people will have, like, it's almost selective. They'll be like, oh, Amy liked that conference that she went to, so I'm going to go to the conference. But I'm about to ask Amy a question of stuff you definitely better listen to, whoever you are out there, because this is the really good stuff. Okay. So don't just take what you want. You got to take it all. All right. So, Amy, here's your question. Knowing what you know now, 25 years later, at least, for 30 years, I don't know how long it's been. How long has it been?
28.
28 years.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, she's talking about, she was there before there was cassette tapes. All right. But knowing what you know now, all of you've seen, all the people you've mentored, all the tens of thousands of customers you've probably started, some have quit, might still be with you 28 years later, whatever. If you were just starting your Juice Plus business today, what would you do?
I love you guys' questions. You're good at this. If I was just getting started today, I would start with making a list of the people that I want to help. You can call it a memory jogger. I like what Stacy Turner calls it. Make a list of the people you want to help. And then put together a plan for having a conversation with them and share your heart, what you're learning. Let your passion come through. I thought of you because, we were talking last week about your son, or your mom has Alzheimer's, or you're an amazing athlete. And, just make a list of people that you care about, that you want to share this with. It starts with personal conversations. And that's all I did. We have different ways of sharing the information now, because you can text it to somebody. Back then we didn't. We had to mail a cassette tape to someone and then follow up to see if they would listen. But it was really doing the same thing. It's sharing your passion and your belief, and offering a gift and seeing if they're open. So it starts with making a list, and then care enough to follow up, because we had a little saying that if you pass out a cassette tape and you don't follow up, you're throwing $1 bills out the window as you're driving down the road, And that information that we have to share is so valuable. And I have to stop myself in my tracks and say, what if I asked myself this question this weekend. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was walking down my driveway talking to my sister, and we said, what if Jeannie had not shared Juice Plus with our family? Our health story would be totally different. I do not know if my husband would be alive today. Number two, where would I be financially if I had tried to keep that other retail business alive at Sawgrass Mills Mall? I would be dead. I just think how different our life would be. And sometimes we forget, if we've been in this a long time, to take ourselves back to, what if I had never learned about Juice Plus? How would my health story be different? And how would my life story be different? So those are just, start with the people that you love and care about, and that that you want to make a difference in their life, and you want to share this gift. And then I didn't let other people's no's deter me from what I was learning, because what I was learning, I was discovering was the absolute truth. I guess I'm a voracious reader. I was reading the Jim Rohn books and all that stuff. But I also read a book called Food Your Miracle Medicine by Jean Carper. She's not a Juice Plus person, but it was this book on, if you eat this, it reduces inflammation, and all the foods for this, for inflammation, for heart disease, for diabetes, foods to eat, foods not to eat, all the things that are really available to us today, but you had to search for that information back in the day. And I realized it was all in Juice Plus, all the stuff we're supposed to be eating. So I'm absorbing this information. I wanted to share it with others. And I didn't let other people's negativity or questioning what I was doing deter me. My sister, it took me 5 years to get my oldest sister on Juice Plus. And she was really negative about it. And she was taking a very expensive multivitamin from another network marketing company. And finally, I just, Anita said, Amy didn't let her negativity influence, affect our relationship. So you just keep doing what you're doing, believing passionately about what that you're right on. We know we're right. So just keep it simple. Talk to real people that you love and care about. Follow up with people. Invite them in. The greatest gift is Juice Plus, but really the greatest gift is this community. Does that answer the question?
It did.
Okay.
It did. I have a follow-up question, and then I'll be done with my questions. And that is, how do you go from, I mean, because there's a lot of people that, can get some customers or even have a full customer base.
Mhm.
And it seems, but getting team members is really what defines somebody. I mean, becoming a team builder is how you really, really make money, and bigger
Right.
money. But that even seems more difficult lately for some reason. And I know it's not just us, we see it with some other people and whatnot. But what advice do you have for people to go from being a customer gatherer to a team builder?
Another good question. Um, you know, I think that you're right. In today's world, there's so many megaphones out there blasting. There's so much information. We're on information overload, more so than I was back in the day when I was first getting started, because we had to seek out information. Now you've got so much information on your smartphone that you can't absorb it all. And we have to become a voice that people want to listen to, and offering something of value so people lean in and want to hear what you have to say. I looked at another note from Nick Vujicic, the guy with no arms and no legs who spoke. And I heard him last weekend. He said that soundtracks in our mind can be more disabling than no limbs. So what are you telling yourself about yourself? What are you telling yourself about what other people are thinking of you or this business? Do you really know and believe that this is an amazing gift? People just don't understand yet how this can impact their life and their future the way that it has impacted mine. So I guess I don't buy other people's stories. I just know that I know. And I have to check my own mindset so I don't fall into a place of complacency sometimes, or lose my faith. I mean, we all have times of doubt. We all have times of discouragement. What are you going to do when you're facing those discouraging times? Your paycheck is down. You've lost some team members if you've been around for a long time. We go through these fluctuations in business. And, we've seen that illustration of the track to NMD. It's not a straight climb. It looks like this. You go all over the map to get to that top position. And even when you get to that top position, it's still going to go all over the map. Okay. There's always room for more personal growth and checking your mindset and becoming the person it takes to succeed and to keep on succeeding. That's the challenge that all of us have, is become the person it takes to succeed at this business. So it's a constant track of personal growth and leadership skill building in your own life. And you never arrive. We're constantly wanting to keep on growing. And I want to grow so I can be the best version of me. And I want to grow because I want to influence Sharon and Doug and Karen and Kathy and Gwen and everyone else that is part of my community, So it's going to be a constant challenge to keep on growing, but that's the best part of this business. It's the person you become in the process. It's not the money you make. Thank you, Jeff Roberti. It's the person you become in the process. And I remember hearing Jim Rohn say 26, 27 years ago, if I could offer you a briefcase with $1 million in cash, would you want that? Or would you want the briefcase with the skills to earn $1 million.
Mm.
He said, always take the skills over the money. Develop the skill set and the belief set so that you can live it and people will want what you have. So it's always going to be a continual path of growth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're happiest when we're growing, right? You know, there have been some times when I've coasted and life is okay. But then if you coast long enough, you'll start to slow down and you can become not as positive and upbeat as you normally are. So stay on that growth track where you're constantly investing in yourself to grow.
That's excellent. So as we grow, we're growing into a person that is going to attract more team and be confident enough to share boldly about the business, which people in general tend to be less bold about sharing the business. We will also, as we grow personally, we're probably learning more about business in general and how, you know, if I'm reading about sales, if I'm reading about marketing, if I'm learning Canva, if I'm doing all the things I do, then I'm getting more and more belief in our business, which again allows me to share it. So it's the people that aren't really diving into the pool, or like Grant Cardone. Was it Grant Cardone? I forget what it was, but a lot of people talk about being in the stands or being on the field. You know, we got to get on the field, and
The
Grant
arena,
Cardone,
Brene Brown arena.
Brene Brown, and then
Yeah.
Grant Cardone says it's not enough to be committed, because a lot of people are very committed to our business, but he says you got to be fully committed, like fully committed. And so, all right, so Kathy, we're going to finish up with Kathy's question, which is what is the daily habit that's made the biggest impact in your life and your business?
The daily habit,
I know what you told me years ago, Amy.
oh, tell me, Karen.
Personal development.
Okay. You know, we could describe that in a lot of different ways.
Oh.
I think personal development is my hobby. I love to read about personal development. I love to be inspired by the stories. I read all of Zig Ziglar's books. I love the stories that he would tell about the pump. If you don't know the pump, I'll send you that YouTube. Or the story of the kid that couldn't walk and what happened. It's just incredible stories. And it helped me become addicted to the power, the power that we have to overcome any life obstacle that's out there. And that was showcased this past weekend of people overcoming huge obstacles. And it reminded me all over again why I love the Juice Plus community, because there are so many stories of overcoming insurmountable obstacles. And even if your story is not one of having to go from desperation to inspiration or mountaintop experiences, it's always because somebody else was committed to personal growth that you are where you are, and offering that opportunity to others and the person that you become in the process. So, you know, the one habit is I'm addicted to that personal growth mentoring that I got from this business, and I'm addicted to the relationships we have inside of this business. If there's anything that is worthwhile for Kathy or Karen or anybody listening to this to get to NMD for, a reason to get to NMD is because the relationships that you have inside of this business, you think they're good now, wait till you get to NMD and you become friends with so many other sideline NMDs, even more than you know right now. And you'll realize the richness of the relationships inside of this business. And you can't put a price tag on that, $1 on that. And I'd do it all over again. I wish, my only regret is I didn't start sooner.
Mm.
I
Hey,
wish
when you,
I wish I would have sponsored Kurt Beavers.
yeah. When you are reading, let's say you're reading a Zig Ziglar book, because you always have so many quotes and you're telling stories from these books. Do you like read a book with a notepad right there with you? Like, how do you, or is it just you just remember quotes and stuff?
No, I highlight my books. I do like to listen on Audible, and that's good, but I do better when I can see it and read it too. So I highlight stuff, and I learned early on that the teacher learns the most. So if you learn something and you go back and you leave a Voxer about it, or you leave a message, or you work it into a training, you're going to learn more than anybody else. So if
Yeah.
you're given the opportunity to teach, take that opportunity, because you're going to benefit the most. And in doing so, you'll be able to bless other people too. So first you're the student, and then you're the teacher. So take what you learn and pass it on. Don't hoard it for yourself. Pass it on, pass it on, pass it on.
That's good.
And I appreciate that. Amy, I'm sorry. Amy, I appreciate that. And I know personally that when I am doing personal development, that I am growing as a person, but
Yes.
not only that, but it affects how I respond to difficult situations.
Yes.
A grandkid that has cancer, a bad diagnosis, all of these things, it helps to build you up as a person to be a stronger version of yourself. And
Yes.
so, you know, learning personal development, I think it needs to be, that's my thing as a daily habit. I was cleaning windows this morning. Well, I'm listening to an Audible, or I'm listening to a podcast, or, because I want to be, constantly feeding myself either spiritually or mindset or growth. And you can't get too much of that. I think that's how some people get stuck, or they also struggle with they get bogged down. And we're going to get bogged down without any outside issues. But when you do have some things that you face, having that to build you up each and every day, I think is so important. So thank you so much, Amy. That was very good.
Oh, Kathy, yes, yes, yes. Amen.